Wild Health is about optimizing you. We use genomics, blood work, biometrics, microbiome assessment, many other tests, and a conversation with you to come up with a full health optimization plan. What's the perfect diet, exercise, and supplement plan for you and only you? The Wild Health podcast is about optimizing all of us. Here we cover the cutting-edge science that gives you the base to be able to apply the personalized plan we give you as a patient. To sign up as a patient, go to wildhealth.com. Or if you're a physician or health coach and you want to learn how to do this for your patients, we're happy to help as well. Wildhealth.com for all the information on becoming a patient or working with us.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Wild Health Podcast. Today I have with me Stefan Olander, who is CEO and co-founder of OMORPHO. He's also the former vice president, digital innovation at Nike. And if you don't know what OMORPHO is, go check it out at omorpho.com. And basically, just in my brief description, which obviously, Stefan, I'm going to lean on you to describe it a little bit more, but it's this concept of microloading in everyday clothing as a method to improve fitness. And you know, we love talking about fitness on the Wild Health Podcast. So I'm excited to have Stefan with us today. Stefan, say hi to everybody for me.
Hey, Mike. Thank you for having me. Hey, everybody.
Awesome. So Stefan, maybe we can start a little bit by just, in your words, what is OMORPHO and what sort of inspired this vision for you?
OMORPHO is a brand that was founded about 5 years ago around this concept of what we call gravity sportswear. And it's, in essence, this weighted gear that you wear. It's apparel, and it's we have a really amazing weighted vest that you wear to challenge your muscles a little bit more as you're moving and give you a better effect of anything you like doing for your workouts. Microloading is the science that supports gravity sportswear, and that's how the weights are distributed across the collections.
Awesome. Yeah, so it looks a little bit like something out of Star Wars. I mean, it's got this very futuristic sort of approach. And if you guys haven't looked at it, it's a nice looking athletic, shirt or pair of shorts or vest with these little, balls, obviously, of weights that are sort of dispersed all throughout it. So it's a little bit Star Warsy. Tell us a little bit about microloading, and just help us understand, like, what are the benefits? How is this different than, say, for example, wearing a weighted vest, which I've done, quite a bit in my athletic career. How is this different?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, on the Star Wars comment, I don't want to scare anyone away because futuristic can mean different things.
That's a good way.
Yeah. No, I took it that way, but in case people don't know, it's like, it's one of those things where we believe it's very innovative and future forward, but it's also accessible, in the sense that it is, we've really, designed something that is both beautiful and functional. And to your point, that we call them G-spheres, the small weights are, there's sort of a method to how they're distributed across your body, but it creates for a very interesting aesthetic, to your point. And a lot of people are like, whoa, what's that? I've never seen it before. Mm-hmm. So that's the context to it. But for the reasons of why it works, maybe I'll take a quick step back and share how I got into this, because the whole beginnings of this was a weighted vest. I was doing the Murph workout wearing a weighted vest. I'd done it a few times, but I'd never done it with a weight vest, and threw one on, and obviously changes the nature of that workout pretty dramatically. And I had this epiphany: this is amazing how much more challenged I am by adding this external load. But I also was curious as to why there hadn't been more work done around the design, the fit, the comfort, the fact that I had a really hard time seeing anything being made for women. And that created a curiosity. That also led to me doing some research around what happens when you load, your body with weight, and what is the right amount of weight. And how does that, help propel your fitness and increase the effect of your workouts? And that's when I came across microloading. So to your question, what's the difference between a traditional weight vest and what we do? Usually our vest and our collection as a whole is slightly lighter. which might sound contradictory. You know, some would say, well, isn't it better the more weight you put on, the harder you work, and therefore it's better? Yeah, the challenge with that is that it impedes your mechanics and your ability to move naturally. And sometimes that's okay. I mean, if you go rucking, you could put on 30, 40 pounds because you're moving in one direction and relatively slow. But if you're actually doing explosive movements that are more dynamic, plyometric, side to side, up and down, if you load your body with too much weight, you're going to put a lot of unnecessary strain on your joints and tendons, and you can't move naturally because your body just can't handle that. So what we've seen with microloading is by adding 1 to 5% of your body mass is the right amount of weight ergonomically distributed, so that when you do explosive movements, you're not impeding your natural motion, but you're still sort of reaping the rewards and you're getting the benefits of moving that way. So, you know, our weight vest weighs 10 pounds for men and 5 pounds in the women's version. And by the way, it's the first vest ever designed by women for women. And we find that to be the perfect weight for this type of activity. And then last, I should say, you know, we work with a lot of athletes at varying levels, from everyday athletes to the utmost elite. One example I have is Alexander Madison, who's the running back for the Minnesota Vikings. I was talking to him about this because there were some people saying, well, it's not heavy enough to mean anything. And as you can imagine, if you don't follow football, he is in phenomenal physical shape to be doing what he does for a living. And his response to that is, if you move the way I move, 10 pounds is the perfect weight, because I need to have the explosiveness, and I can't do that with something that's wobbling around, weighs 25 pounds.
So you're talking about, you said 1 to 5% of body weight. So just to put that in perspective for people, I'm 170 pounds. That would be about 8.5 pounds for me. Is this distributed just in the vest, or is this something that we're talking about putting all over the body in different locations?
Yeah. So yeah, it's actually a collection where you can choose depending on what your activities are and what type of workouts or how you like to move. You can choose to different pieces from the collection. So we've got everything ranging from our tights, you know, that will load between 1.5 to 2 pounds across your legs, to our shorts for men, which are 2 pounds, mostly concentrated to your quads and hamstrings. We have short sleeve tops, long sleeve tops ranging in the 1 to 2 pounds, all the way up to the vest. So you can layer in depending on what you do. So if you do, you know, for instance, running, you want to load the body parts that are moving. So obviously a pair of tights and a long sleeve shirt, your arms are moving, your legs are moving. But it's really, really hard to throw on 15, 20 pounds and go for a long run, to do that in a comfortable way that doesn't put too much strain on your body. So that's the idea, that you distribute it across the muscle groups that are moving, depending on what activity you like to do.
And you mentioned that when you started looking at the science, the research here, so is there science and research backing microloading specifically?
Yeah, there is. And you know, I was very fortunate to get connected to our head of science, Dr. Erin Fazer, who had spent, you know, during her PhD researching this. Wasn't necessarily called microloading at the time. It's a term that we have adopted to make it easier to understand what this is. But her, you know, when you spend years researching this in labs, you need substantial claims to this, and there are a number of white papers, peer reviewed, and we link to them on our website, where you can see the science behind this, how it works, why it works. So it's not just one of those things that's made up. But what's important with it is it is a different way of moving than, for instance, you know, my example of a rucking is a very different type of loaded workout where you put much more weight on, but it's for a different use case than the one we're, bringing to market.
And the science it showed, I presume, improved athletic performance, strength gains? What sort of benefits are we talking here?
Yeah, all of the above. So you increase speed for runners, especially sort of explosive speed. Those first few steps, jump height, power output, calorie burn, up to 8% more calorie burn, and these are they're tangible results. And now for the everyday athlete, like myself, for me, it's also, I may not be at a point, and a lot of our consumers may not be at a point where a split second difference matters. To elite athletes, that's a huge thing. That's why we work with some of the best athletes in the world. The benefit of this stretches beyond that to, I know I get the gains, but for me, it might be more about, I do like to increase the calorie burn, but I also like which should not be neglected, in addition to all the scientific, proven results that you can get from it, is also how you feel. So there's a proprioception here. There's a sense of, for instance, I'll use my weight vest when I warm up for tennis. And, the first 15 minutes, I take it off and there's this sense of lightness, like I'm flying. I am so fast. And some of our athletes, like Britton Covey, was a punt returner, had used our vest as he was preparing to get into the NFL to prepare for the 40-yard dash. So two completely different use cases, right? But nonetheless supported by our collection.
Okay. Yeah. It seems to me like, given the weight range, it's not as much, and granted, there's going to be some strength and some endurance gains, but it seems like power is the real opportunity here. Like the ability to apply a force with a very high velocity or with acceleration, because you're adding this minimal amount of weight. I mean, I'm sure 10 pounds isn't minimal depending on what you're doing, but you know what I'm saying? It's not a 40-pound weight vest, right?
Yeah.
And then you're applying it in a way that you can still do these very dynamic movements, as opposed to just doing squats, like, for example, which you would do for Murph, squats and push-ups and pull-ups, right? We're talking about jumps. We're talking about calisthenics. We're talking about explosive movements, or even moving through, like you were saying with tennis, moving through sport as you normally would. So traditional movements like you would through a tennis match. However, you're applying this weight on top of it. So it's then forcing your body to create this ability to produce power and velocity with the smaller weights. That's what it sounds like to me, at least.
That's exactly right. You nail it. And, that's why we see this. We have lacrosse players, tennis players, soccer players, football players, basketball players who are moving, there's an explosive motion to what you do in that sport, and it's actually, it takes some sort of education, because we get questions a lot from people that are used to more traditional weight vests. Well, it doesn't make any sense. Why isn't it 30 pounds and I wear a vest where I load on 45-pound plates? It's just they have misunderstood the use case for this. We're not saying that this would replace when you go rucking with a 40-pound vest. What we're saying is the way that this weight is distributed and the comfort with which it is, you can do much more explosive movements to get to exactly what you were describing, which you get an explosive increased explosiveness power, and that is really, really important for elite athletes, but it also behooves and benefits everyday athletes.
Yeah, I agree with you. I wouldn't think about having, at least, our patients here at Wild Health, I wouldn't give this to them in place of rucking. Like, you still want the high weight. But if you wanted to, say, for example, add it to a sprint workout, or you want to overload for a rowing session, or your dry land training for skiing and doing, squat jumps or something like that. Those are really optimal times to have a minimal overload, so you're not overstressing the joints, but still pushing past what your muscles are currently comfortable with in terms of movement. Cool stuff.
Exactly.
Very interesting.
Exactly.
Okay. What does it feel like wearing this? I mean, is it tight to your body? Is it loose and flowing? Like, I haven't personally put one of these things on, so I have no clue, but I'm very curious because, like I said, it looks like you're wearing some Star Wars uniform. And then also, like, there's weights, like, even on your sleeves or on your legs. It just sounds weird.
Yeah, no, it's not weird at all. It's actually feels amazing. And the reason it does is because you forget that it's there. So the beauty of this is the way we've designed this is comfort first, right? Well, I guess style first, because if it doesn't look good, no one's going to care. And then, but you got to make sure it's supremely comfortable. And I think that and comfort has many aspects of it. A is how it feels against your body, but also making it easy to use. The way we wash our apparel, you want to wash it like your normal clothing. You just throw it in the wash. But to come back to the notion of the sensation of wearing this is, one of the things we find is you go from when you pick up something, whether it's a garment, whether it's one of our apparel pieces, which, you take a long sleeve shirt, weighs 2 pounds, you take it and hold it and you definitely feel 2 pounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you put it on, the way we've designed the spheres are flat on the inside, and the way they're distributed across your body, you don't realize that they're there. So you can lay on your back, and do sit-ups, you can do planks, yoga, whatever you want, without feeling the spheres, because
Mm-hmm.
they're flat on the inside and they're so distributed. It's almost like you think about a spike mat, you stand on it and you can do that because there are a number of pressure points that are evenly distributed. It's a similar thing. And the other thing is the material we've chosen, especially for our apparel, is performance fabric that feels soft and good on your skin, but at the same time has the right elasticity to move with your body as your body is moving. It's not compression based layer. You don't wear these things super snug because you don't have to. So it's supposed to feel comfortable and fit comfortable like a normal, any kind of sport apparel. Our vest, slightly different, right? It weighs more and it doesn't use, so we use PU to generate the weight on our G spheres on our apparel. On our G vest, we used steel ball bearings, smaller steel ball bearings, 10 millimeter. There are also hundreds of them evenly distributed, but they're embedded in a neoprene core. So it creates a flexibility that is very uncommon in weight vests. A lot of people that use, and the reason they love it and the reason we're winning so many awards for it is because it's just more comfortable than the other weight vests, because they usually use plates or, sand or whatever to create and generate the load. When you do that, you're going to have bigger pieces that are rigid and it's not as comfortable. So, and then the other thing we've done is creating, adjustability both in the shoulder area as well as side cinches so that you can fit it to your torso. So it sits really comfortably. So the whole purpose for our stuff is we don't want you to think that it's even there. We want you to forget that it's there so you can focus on doing what you love doing.
Awesome. And I assume that this is hand wash or air dry. How do you go about cleaning these materials?
The vest?
The vest and the clothes.
The clothing you wash like your normal clothing. Throw it in the washing machine, wash it like you would anything, which is like, you can't add friction to consumer's life, right? You can't say, hey, here's a great thing, but you got to take it to dry cleaning. You got to be able to just throw it in the wash. The vest, you don't want to throw it in the machine because you'll ruin your machine when you have 10 pounds wobbling around.
Spinning around.
Yeah, that's not good. So you spot clean it, warm water soap, just, wipe it off and it's good to go.
Awesome. Wait, I know you've already mentioned Mixon. I know there's a few other athletes that you guys work with. What areas of athletics have you seen the biggest uptake with these clothes, this product?
Well, in the beginning, when we started out, so we've been live now since November 21, we had a number of athletes that were intrigued, and we call them our original ambassadors. And one of them was Julio Jones, incredible football player. And he immediately took to it. He said, I just don't understand why no one has done this before. It's so intuitive. And the interesting thing is elite athletes are really, really quick to understand the benefits here. They never question the weight. They don't go, well, why isn't this 40 pounds? Because they understand, because of the way they move, and they understand the differences in load to what they do cannot be too great. So, but because of that, and because of him, we had a lot of football players in the beginning reaching out to us because they had been working out with weighted vests. They were disappointed with how they were feeling, how they were fitting, and just loved our product. So that was the first tranche, if you will. But just in general, fitness has been a big, big wave too. because it's a thing where you're going to go and do a class maybe for 40 minutes, 60 minutes, and you've been doing it for quite some time and you kind of plateau. It's remarkable when you add this load, how it changes the dynamics of what you're doing and how much more you get back from it. So, but then we have a lot of other, athletes. Ayla Tomljanovic, amazing tennis player, who been working out with us for a couple of years. Annie Coons, she's an Olympic heptathlete. She jumps, she does explosive movements, she runs. So it's a very all-around way of helping her, get to even greater strength and fitness.
So how are your athletes using this product? Are they using it during like with their typical type sports movements? Are they using it as, additional, functional movement patterns? Like what's your sense as to how they're applying the product in their regular activity and lives?
It's very individual and also depending on what products they choose. So ranging anywhere from preseason for football players, it's a lot of preseason training. Like I mentioned, Alexander Madison from the Vikings, he runs routes in the vest, literally the same thing he would do on the field, wearing the vest and then taking it off, being even more explosive. Ayla, as I mentioned in tennis, she'll wear our crop top and our tights for her hitting sessions just to add a little bit more load. So some use it as sort of supplemental conditioning training outside of their sport, others embedded into the sport. It's very individual. We've had some examples of baseball teams wearing our vest, MLB teams wearing our vest in the batting cage as a way to sort of, increase momentum. So there are a number of different uses, and that's the beauty of this. It's so versatile. It's hard to go wrong. It's more of, and individual athletes have individual ways of training, and they might be doing the same sport, but they focus differently on how they build themselves up for that. And therefore they apply this in the way they find to be most relevant for their particular training.
Let's say that one of the listeners goes onto your website, says, I'm going to give it a shot. They order shirt, shorts, vest. How would you recommend that they get started using that product? Should they put it on and wear it all day, every day, for every training session? Is it something they should ease into? Can they sleep in it? What are the bounds here of utilizing this product in daily life?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously sleep in it, but no, I think this is a really important question, and the beauty of this is it's hard to go wrong. Let me start there. Unless you load up, everything. You do tights, you do long sleeve, you do vest. Now you're adding 15, 16 pounds and then go all out. That might be a lot. But for us, it's sort of a simple way of enhancing what you're already doing. So let's say you're a runner, and you train, you have your regime and you got your you know what you're doing and you're set up to do it. Adding the G short, for instance, to your speed days is a great way of adding 2 more pounds to what you're doing, increasing the intensity of that, putting a little bit more load to your body during that particular session. I wouldn't throw on a full thing and then go run 20K in it. I don't think that, as with everything, we would love for you to ease into it. The other thing is to not wear it all the time. You don't go from never wearing microloading to now I'm going to put it on for everything I do all the time, because there's this idea of creating change, to your body, that where you add the increased resistance, then you taper back, and then you add, and then you taper back. So I think easing into it is really is the way to go about it, and then listen to your body. Like you'll know how much more you can push, and the more intense the activity, the more thoughtful you should be about how to implement it. But for instance, we have people that buy our vests for hiking. You throw it on and wear it for every hike. The difference is going to be it's going to be the right intensity increase without putting so much strain that you're actually absolutely depleted afterwards.
Yeah, I like that. Well, what are what are your overarching goals here? Like, what sort of outcomes are you looking to achieve by motivating people to pursue this type of training?
What's interesting, Mike, is for us, I cannot stress how often people come up and say, why has no one done this? Because it is so intuitive. It's such an easy way to increase the effect of what you're already doing, that for us, this is going to be an entirely new category. It can't but be that, because people have been using ankle weights and wrist weights and weight vests forever. But the reason it hasn't become I think, a broader application to how we look at the costume of our training and what we do to stay fit is because it hasn't been designed with that intent. It's been a niche thing. So for us, I think when you look at what we want this to be and become, it's really showing and sharing with more people that if you could get more from every workout, why wouldn't you? If the only thing you had to do was change what you wear, So
Yeah.
that to me is, from an objective standpoint, a huge part of this.
All right. That's great, Stefan. So what does OMORPHO mean? What does it stand for?
OMORPHO is Greek, and it means beautiful. We wanted, I'm half Greek, so I wanted something, I grew up, lived in Greece for a few years and speak the language. And I wanted to find something that felt like it had a story to it, and beautiful. We create beautiful solutions. It's not just the fact that they look great, but how it works and how it functions. We have an accompanying app that is connected through an NFC tag on our vest. So we think of it as beautiful solutions more so than just beautiful products. And also, finding names these days that you can both get a domain name for, an Instagram handle, and trademark it around the world without removing all the vowels and making some funky cut up of the name is really hard. So we're incredibly thankful for our name.
Yeah, that's a good one. You got actually 3 vowels in there, which is impressive. That's a lot for a new product these days. You said that it connects to an app on your phone. What does the app do with the product?
It basically has recommended body weight workouts. We call them gravity training sessions. They're ranging from 15 to 20 minutes. Super simple to use. Follow along a video. That shows, a great way if you're traveling and you're out of inspiration, and you just fire up our OMORPHO app, and those workouts come free with a vest. And you don't have to have the vest to do them. Any product will do. But it's just another way of us to help, giving more access, I guess, to fitness.
Awesome. Well, this has been a great conversation. I excited to try it out myself personally. I'd heard some rumblings from some of our athletes here at Wild Health that have used the product, but haven't actually tried it myself. And I think after this conversation, I'm sort of getting the sense that there's probably an opportunity for the non-athlete, for the weekend warrior or the everyday Joe, to use this product, just to improve their fitness in general. So super excited to try it out myself. Where can our listeners go if they want to learn more about your product and your company?
I think omorpho.com, OMORPHO.com is a great starting point. Our Instagram, OMORPHO, has a lot of stories from athletes, and as I mentioned, there you obviously see a lot of the elite athletes we work with, some of the greatest, running programs, as well as the big leagues, both in football, baseball, and basketball, hockey are all using it. So that's a great first starting point for it. And that's where we also have a science section where you can learn more about the science behind it.
Awesome. All right, Stefan. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been a pleasure.
It's been great. Thank you so much, Mike.
All right. Take care.
That's all for this episode. Thanks everyone for listening. And if you're looking for more, be sure to follow us on social at WildHealthMD and head over to wildhealth.com or wildhealth.com/premium to become a patient and experience precision medicine for yourself.